eighth one, field work, research methods in anthropology, field work tradition, field work. Tradition. In anthropology. See, anthropology is a field-based discipline actually, and just like if you take a biological scientist, a laboratory is a place where they experiment and observe some phenomena or conclude something through the experiments that they do in a laboratory. For a social scientist like anthropologist, society is like a laboratory where an anthropologist observes, records their experiences and tries to understand the cultures of other societies. So earlier anthropologists were like, they were collecting data through secondary sources without actually staying in the field. Field here is a unit of study that can be a village, town, or maybe a particular locality in a particular area or any other thing. So earlier researchers were collecting data through books, magazines, journals, or local administrators, or tourists, or travelers. So this kind of information is known as a secondary source of information, because the person did not himself or herself collect the data. How did they collect? They collected through books. So whoever are collecting books through or information through books, or maybe at present you can take internet and other things, those are secondary sources of information, research wise. Okay, so because of the unsatisfactory state of data that is obtained through these secondary sources, researchers like Franz Boas, Alfred C. Haddon, they went to expedition. You know what is an expedition? Expedition is a travel to a new place, which is an interdisciplinary team. That means not only anthropology, there can be sociology, there can be biology, there can be naturalists, there can be tourists, there can be traders. So it consists of different teams going for different purposes, isn't it? And they will have a duration. Okay, we will go and stay for 10 days. Just like holiday packages will be there, no, 3 nights, 2 nights. So if you are staying, you have to come within that part. Otherwise, you will be charged extra, isn't it? So these expeditions are something which are interdisciplinary teams go to a new place and collect and do whatever they wanted to do. So these first they used to go on expedition. Again, expedition time is limited, so they can't complete the study within that stipulated time, and therefore people started going and staying in the societies from where they have to, from where they want to learn their culture. So like Malinowski went to Trobriand Islanders, stayed there for several years, learned their local language and collected information by actually participating in their society. Say for example, I want to know about what is your hometown? Other state, no? Hometown, I am asking. Adamgarh. Okay. One Adamgarh is in Madhya Pradesh also. Okay. So if I want to know about your town, either I can ask you or I can come and stay with you if you allow, and then find about the culture of your town, isn't it? If I come stay there and if I am speaking in English, then it is not participatory. If I am only communicating in Hindi, then it will be participatory, because I am able to ask whatever question is there in my mind and I am able to get answer, so that I can give a good account of the culture of Adamgarh. You get my point? So this kind of practice was started by Malinowski, who went to Trobriander Islanders, stayed with them, learned their local language, and gave a ethnographic account of them. So this, after Malinowski, fieldwork has become a tradition. That means without fieldwork experience, no one can become an anthropologist. So that is why I said fieldwork is the core of the discipline anthropology. And after that, many other subsequent researchers, all of them started doing this participatory fieldwork. Many times learning even their local language, like maybe Margaret Mead or Cora Dubois, Ruth Benedict, even Lewis Strauss, Radcliffe Brown, all the scholars, they have done substantial fieldwork. Many of them learned their local language. They stayed as one among them. Isn't it? When you stay as one among them, then only we will be able to gain the faith and confidence of the local people. Only then they will share. Isn't it? Otherwise, why will they share the information that you are looking for? Isn't it? So, that is how fieldwork was established over a period of time from past to present. So please write something about fieldwork tradition in anthropology. Fieldwork forms the core of this discipline. According to Clyde Clermont, society is like a great mirror in which is like a great mirror in which man looks at his own diversity and this pursuit is carried through fieldwork tradition. A biological scientist observes various phenomena in a laboratory, whereas a social scientist observes customs, traditions and practices in a society. Put the side heading historical background. Historical background. Historical background. Earlier anthropologists collected data through secondary sources of information Secondary sources of information include books, magazines, journals, tourists, travelers, local administrators, hunters, missionaries, etc. These anthropologists are known as armchair. So sitting on a chair with arms rested. Armchair anthropologist. Due to unsatisfactory state of the data so obtained, some researchers, some anthropologists like Franz Boas, Alfred C. Haddon, went on expeditions to British Columbia, and Torres Strait to collect information. As expeditions have interdisciplinary teams, anthropologists could not extend their stay. It contains interdisciplinary teams. Anthropologists could not extend their stay. Later, Malinowski conducted his fieldwork in Trobriand Islands of Melanesia. Trobriand Islands of Melanesia. He stayed with the local people as one among them. He even learned their local language. No one before him nor after him has spent such a significant time in the study of A single primitive community. He is considered as a master ethnographer. He is considered as a master ethnographer. Ethnographer. And one of the founding fathers of participatory research. After Malinowski's study, fieldwork became a tradition in anthropology. You get my point? Ratley Brown conducted his study in Andaman Islands, Andaman. He recorded their myths, ceremonies and customs. Myths, ceremonies and customs. And has written a book, The Andaman Islanders. The Andaman Islanders. See, you can see this fieldwork has already become a tradition. But during this after 1920s, 1930s, some female anthropologists like Ruth Benedict. So Ruth Benedict is a student of Franz Boas. Even Margaret Mead also is a student of Franz Boas, because they did their PhD from under the guidance of Franz Boas in Columbia University. Ruth Benedict also was a mentor of Margaret Mead. So these three, Franz Boas, Ruth Benedict, Margaret Mead. So you can see that expedition started by Franz Boas only. Franz Boas is also considered as father of American anthropology. Even though he was born in Germany, he settled in America and he gained a lot of popularity, and that is why, because he started expedition first, he is also considered as the founding father of participatory research. His students are Ruth Benedict and Margaret Mead. So Ruth Benedict, Margaret Mead, and even other female anthropologists of USA like Cora Dubois, they wanted to do field work, but at that time, because the conditions in primitive societies are quite different, so they were asked to be accompanied by a male anthropologist or maybe their husbands to do the field work. So this is slightly against, it's just like, it's not very what you call equal, no? Like male are going and doing field work and female are not allowed to do field work. If they have to do field work, then they have to accompany it by someone else because of the conditions which are there. So it is against feminism. So, but Ruth Benedict, Margaret Mead, and Cora Dubois broke those clutches and they did extensive field work in different societies. So you can write it. That is the background story, but I am not telling you all these things. We are just writing Ruth Benedict, Margaret Mead, and Cora Dubois. So please write Ruth Benedict, Margaret Mead, and Cora Dubois. Cora, C-O-R-A, dash do du dash vois corridors. Also conducted studies in fieldwork studies in various primitive communities. So, in which societies they have done fieldwork, in which year, and the associated books we can see in anthropological theory. Next, qualities required by a field worker or anthropologist. What are the qualities that the field worker should have? Number one, humble learner. Humble. Whenever humbleness, but in reality, all throughout your life, when you consider yourself as someone who is learning, you'll never have any problem with any other person, particularly in your workplace. And even with respect to elders, or even if that is even youngsters also, if a person considers that they are learning, no one will have any ego issues. But when the problem comes when a person tries to teach, because not everyone will be inclusive to others teaching, and even if you are asked to teach, then also people may not perceive it properly. So if you are a learner, if you are a good learner, definitely you become a good teacher. That's a different thing. But it is very important that and it is also quite natural that learning never stops; it continues. But you have to believe in that, and if you if you try to learn, and if you are inclusive to learning, and if you believe that you are a learner all throughout your life, then obviously so many issues will not come in your life. So these kind of statements, humble learner may simply look to words, but there is a deeper meaning associated with it. You get my point? So humble learner is one thing. Number two, observe intently. And listen attentively. Observe intently, listen attentively. What is observation? What is the difference between looking and observation, hearing and listening? You are looking, I am just looking here, I am observing. When I am observing, I am paying attention to what I am seeing. I am trying to sense my surroundings. You go on a road, or you are going and simply looking without observation. So you will not be able to sense your surroundings. So observation is nothing but keen looking. Likewise, hearing, you are hearing and you are listening. Maybe you are hearing to something outside, but you are listening to what I am saying you. Isn't it? That means you are paying attention here, you are not paying attention to things which are going on outside. So there is a difference between hearing and listening. Isn't it? So you are, as an anthropologist or as a field worker, what you are doing? You are observing intently. Observation only is looking intently, or looking or paying attention to everything. What it is more than that. So observe intently, listen even more attentively. Discipline. discipline. Now here discipline is like coping up with the schedule which is there in front of you. Like maybe if it is a food gathering and hunting society, you want to record their observations. And food gatherers and hunters usually early in the morning they go into the forest for hunting. So you have to wake up early. You have to accompany them. After they go, you can't wake up alone and see where there is people are. Obviously, this discipline is something which is lacking in many people, and it is not very easy to be disciplined. Doing the same thing over and over again, no? People get bored, particularly younger generation, because there are so many forms of entertainment. Maybe watching TV, or maybe social media, or going to some mall or some kind of movie, or you went to some place, or you went to a restaurant or something like that, isn't it? So being discipline is something which is very important. Discipline is nothing but coping up with the schedule. What is, like, say, a schedule comes with a time frame. So if you are expected to be at 6 o'clock, then obviously you have to make sure that you are ready by 6 o'clock. It's not that you wake up at 6 o'clock and then, isn't it? So discipline. Next one. Patience. Tolerance. Patience, tolerance, politeness, and a pleasing body personality, a pleasing personality. Pleasing personality. See, some people have a very intimidating personality. Intimidating personality in the sense like the posture, gestures, or whatever they are using would be intimidating in nature. So such kind of people, people tend not to. So it's a pleasing personality. Pleasing personality is something which is, because some tribal people, if you are coming in contact for the first time, if it is an intimidating personality means standing like a warrior. So consider how a warrior stands, or a person who is taking part in a fight. Broad shouldered, eyes very big, and then obviously that, isn't it? So these are some essential things that, and cultural relativism also you can write, because this is the most important one, the cultural relativism. Next, steps involved in fieldwork. Steps involved in fieldwork. So what are the different steps? So think with common sense. So first is selecting a unit of study, or selecting a field. Field is nothing but a unit of study. And then after selecting a unit of study, selecting the purpose of study, or maybe it can be the other way around. You find the purpose and then go to a field, or maybe go to a particular society, or maybe you have a society nearby where you want to study different things. So the scope of the field work has to be set, isn't it? And after selecting a unit of study, then what you do? You can't go to maybe a tribal community or a village community. You can't go and stay among them, no? If you go there, you put a tent and start living there, hundreds of questions they will ask. Tribal people, they will not allow you to stay there, because you did not seek their permission. And whatever you may say, they may not be interested. Isn't it? You go to a village without knowing, maybe you forgot the route and you went into a village and you are in the middle of their center. People will circle you and they will start asking so many, who are you, why did you come, where are you going, and they will accompany you till they're out of the village, and then they will be happy. And this is a natural thing, because they want to keep their society safe. Yes or no? Many things it happened to me. Many times it happened to me, and well, maybe you lose your because GPS doesn't work properly. No? Exact perfect time. No, GPS starts showing something, and because of GPS only in recent times I ended up somewhere in the jungles and other things many times. So you go, then obviously they'll. So it is important that you seek the permission. And after seeking the permission, you go and stay with them. You are staying as one among them to gain their faith, and you are not over indulging in their day-to-day activity because you went for a study and you have to complete the study in quick time. And that is why patience is one of the quality that I made you to write. You have to take time because first you have to develop the rapport. You have to establish that trust, and only then, and only after that, by not over indulging in their day-to-day activities, you try to collect information that is of importance to you. If you are going for a general study, all sorts of information is important: flora, fauna, type of soil, water bodies, their habitations, food, how they are making, how they are eating, what they are eating, what is their dressing style, and various other aspects related to this thing. So you are recording your observations, and two things are very important. One is a personal diary and the other one is a field note. In personal diary, an individual writes one's own observations, because generally you go to a society which is not familiar to you, a person has so many feelings inside, because some things will be like a shocker. That is also known as cultural shock. There is a term known as cultural shock. Maybe in marriages in the beginning you would have seen, no, someday, what is it? Why Sir is like speaking all these things? Yes or no? It is a shock. But after that, the shock becomes normal. So, one personal diary to record their one's own feelings. Second thing is the field notes. So, whatever you are observing in the field, you may write in the diary. If that is not possible, as far as you remember, you come back and immediately write it, because the same day memory will be better. After 3-4 days, you may tend to forget something. So a personal diary should be there, a field note should be there, because that will help to build write a good ethnography. And after the purpose of study is over, yes, obviously you are thanking the local people, but an anthropologist should make an everlasting impression on the local people. The sorrow of both the parties, the anthropologist as well as the local people, should feel the sorrow of departure. If that kind of positive impression is not left, it will be difficult for the subsequent studies, because they will not allow any other researcher. And there are also certain ethics to be followed in fieldwork. So we'll write steps and then we'll write ethics in fieldwork. Okay. Steps in fieldwork. Selecting an unit of study and purpose of study and the scope of study. The basic ones I am saying, there could be a number of things also. Maybe in a particular study you went to find the problems. This is just an ethnography I am saying. Ethnography is recording the observations of a given society or giving a descriptive account of socio-cultural aspects of a given society. You get my point? So please write. So selecting a unit of study, scope and purpose and scope of the study. Number 2, seeking the permission of the local people or from the head of the locality. See, sometimes even from government also, because some places you don't have the permission to go freely. You have to take the permission from the government. Even though they come under our territory only, we can't go anywhere. Like say for example, some places in Gulf of Mannar, or maybe you have this Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Nagaland, isn't it? Where you can't, you need a permit there. Isn't even Lakshadweep also. Right? So such is it. But they will be given very easily. You just need to stop on the border and take the permit. That's it. As simple as that. Or maybe you can apply online and you can get it. Yeah. You know the process, no? It's very simple. It's not very tedious. You don't stay there forever and then it is granted very quickly because they don't want to. Give a hurdle to the tourists and travelers. Unless until it is, because that will also help keep a check on the intruders or maybe people who may involve in antisocial things, isn't it? So, next point. Gaining entry into the field and building rapport. By staying as one among them. Next, all sorts of information are of great importance to an anthropologist. Therefore, an anthropologist has to record personal feelings in a personal diary and all other observations to be recorded in a field diary or notes. Next, once the purpose of study is over, thank the local people, thanks. So the sorrow of departure, both the parties should feel the sorrow of departure. Sorrow of departure. It is very important to leave a positive impression on local people as it will help in subsequent or further studies. Ethics in fieldwork tradition. Ethics. See, maintaining confidentiality of information is something which is important in every field. You getting my point? Here also maintaining the confidentiality of information of the participants. If they are okay to share it, then you can, and even for photographing or videographing, or recording, you should take their permission. You cannot just go and take their photos or maybe record everything whatever you wanted to. That is again goes against the ethics of any profession anywhere actually. So please write. First one, maintaining the confidentiality of information. Number 2, not to overindulge in their day-to-day activities. And number 3, not to get into personal relationship with the local people. Resolving ethical dilemmas by being culturally relativistic, because generally there will be number of cases of this dilemma. So I have to resolve it by being culturally relativistic.